always really excited to get this day completed, to get the signing class signed. Um, Very, very different year, obviously, for recruiting. When I reflect back to the beginning of this year, we didn't go out and spring recruit. We couldn't see these kids in person. And so, there's pieces of the evaluation process that really you have to find other ways to do it. And I really give our staff credit for really being creative and getting all the information we needed about these kids. We talked to high school coaches, we talked to trainers, we talked to counselors, we talked to people in the building, everybody we can to get as much information on these kids because we're very high on character. We're very high on the qualities that each one of these individuals brings to the program. And so really, really important that we get that information on each one of these young men. Um, Obviously, academics are very important. The passion that they have for the game of football is important. And we really felt like we needed to add to the team that we've built here. You know, the roster that we have, we've been trying to get bigger. We've been trying to get more athletic on defense, and we always try to add playmakers to to this roster. Really proud of how it's developing. The year before we got here, we had 5 players, or Nevada had 5 players on the all conference team. And to get to have that grow to 15, it shows that we're on the right track. We're bringing in the right kind of kids, and we're developing them into being really, really good Mountain West Conference football players. Um, we signed 19 kids. We signed 6 kids from the state of California, 4 from Texas, 3 from the state of Washington, 2 from Nevada, 2 from Arizona, 1 from Colorado, and 1 from Utah. Um, I'm really, really excited about the group. And I'll start on defense. We signed 3 cornerbacks, um, 2 from the state of Arizona, um, Zion Burns and Zach Lewis, and Richard Tony from Arlington, Texas. Um, we really want to play man defense here. We really want to be able to pressure the quarterback and play man to man. And these kids really give us a chance to do that. Um, they're athletic, they can run, and very, very, very competitive. We signed a safety, Aiden Cialua, who's from Spanish Fork, Utah. Really athletic safety, great, versatile, all-around athlete. Played offense, played running back, really physical, really good player. Um, we signed 1 linebacker. We have a lot of good young linebackers in our program, guys that are athletic, but this kid, Drew Watts, from Chatsworth, California, Sierra Canyon High School, really the kind of backer we want to build our program on. Athletic, physical, very tough, and loves to play. And Coach Ward really likes him. Um, we really wanted to build depth in our defensive line, and we signed 5 players in our defensive line. We're in a 4-man front now. We need more defensive linemen, and it's led by Chase Davis. Chase is from East Los Angeles Junior College, 6'5", 270 pounds, really a hard playing defensive end. We really need more depth in our D line, and we need an older presence. And he gives us an older presence walking in the door that's really athletic, and really, really plays. He's kind of a throwback, old school defensive lineman. So really excited about Chase coming in, recruited by a lot of people around the country that was looking for a junior college defensive end. Jeremiah Bodwin is from Parish Episcopal High School in Dallas, Texas. He's the twitchy pass rushing defensive end, very much like Malik Reed, but taller than Malik, and really, really athletic. Gives it the pass rusher that we're looking for. Caleb Manson from Orange, California. Um, giant kid, 6'5", 280 pounds, big defensive lineman, tackle that can really get after the quarterback. He's going to add to the size that we're looking for on defense, and our D-line really helps us to beef up. Dwight Tugialoa is from the state of Washington, from Lacey, Washington, and he's also a teammate of an offensive player that we recruited as well, and very athletic defensive tackle. Coach Ship's going to really enjoy working with him, but active, athletic, ability to put pressure on a quarterback. And then Dion Washington, another in-state kid from Shadow Ridge High School in Las Vegas, another inside player, athletic, cousin of Cam Toomer, really good football player. So those defensive players, really important to the development of our defense. We have to get more athletic. We need more playmakers, and we want to get more pressure on the quarterback and play more man coverage. When you look at the offensive recruits, we signed 9 players on offense, and starts with the quarterback with Drew Scalari here from Reno, Bishop Manogue prospect. Just a great, smart, athletic prospect at quarterback. You know, the most important quality we look for in quarterbacks is smarts, accuracy, and competitiveness. And Drew has all those qualities. Obviously, grew up in a football family, and we're really excited about Drew and pleased to have him in the program, working in that quarterback room. We signed 2 running backs, Ty Collins from Forney, Texas, and Jocks Badalato Birdsell from Camas, Washington. Both are really athletic. Both are really explosive. They're downhill runners, and we're excited. They're in the mold of a Nevada back, and that's what we're looking for. Coach Vi's done an amazing job getting those guys in our program. Really important, Toa and Devontae are both going to be seniors next year, so really important that we get some good young backs in our program that can play the style that we want to play. Really excited about this next guy. Carlton Brown is 6'6". He's about 200 pounds right now, but just reminds you so much of Cole Turner. Big, tall, long athlete, plays basketball. He's kind of a classic young tight end. He's like Bambi right now. And we need to put some weight on him and get him matured, get him with Coach Simmons. But he's so similar to Cole Turner and what he could do for us as a tight end. Amazing kid, great family, from San Luis Obispo in California. Really talented, intelligent young man. We're really excited about having him here. We signed 1 wide receiver. This guy's super explosive from Lincoln High School in San Diego, California, DeJure Padgett. He could play inside. He could play outside. He's a return man. Really big time speed, and guy that can really stretch the field, give us another playmaker, add to the guys that we have. We're so excited, so spoiled right now. I mean, when Elijah Cooks got hurt, we'll have Elijah back. We'll have Romeo back. Torrey Horton has emerged as a very good wide receiver. And so, and then just adding DeJure to that group is exciting. And so we're we're really excited. Comes from a great high school there in San Diego. A lot of great talent from there. So we're excited about de jour. And then we signed 4 linemen for the Union. I'm really, really excited because we're finally building depth in the Union. And, you know, for our program to have success at the highest level, we got to play great up front in the offensive line. And we signed 4 really quality offensive linemen. The first guy is Trevin Heel from Grandview High School in Aurora, Colorado, an inside player, about 6'3", 270, but really athletic, can play center, can play guard. I think he'll be a really tremendous inside player. Andrew Madigal from Norco High School in California, 6'3", 300 pounds, walking in the door, physical, athletic, really great mindset. Dominic Eldridge from Pinkston High School in Dallas, Texas. He's a guy that Coach Ward was recruiting from Texas. Athletic guy, 6'5", 300-pound tackle, plays basketball, was a captain of his team. Really, really good football player from the Metroplex in Dallas. And then this might be my favorite guy, Lysander Moilo, 6'6", 350 pounds from Timberline High School in Lacey, Washington. He's a teammate of our defensive lineman, Dwight Tagiola from Timberline. 2 really good linemen from the same high school. But, you know, I was with the Raiders when we had Lincoln Kennedy, and my goal in life is to find another body like Lincoln Kennedy. Lincoln was like 6'8", 380. Well, Lysander's just under that right now. He's 6'6", 350, and he's only 18 years old. So had to beat some other teams in our league to get him. Really giant man and a physical guy. And I know Coach Simmons can't wait to get him here to start getting him ready to play. But it's a really good group. We're excited about this group of players. We saved 4 scholarships, so we have 4 initials. And it's going to be a very unusual year. It's going to be a year where there's a lot of changes in the NCAA. They're going to put the one-time transfer rule in, and that's probably going to start in January. The name and likeness is all going to start. That's going to change college athletics as we know it. And so we wanted to save a handful of scholarships just to see what was available this spring. It's been such an unusual year with the COVID and coaches not being able to go out. We feel like there's some kids that are overlooked, and we wanted to have the flexibility to have scholarships available for transfer players as well. We would love if there's a player available at corner, a rush defensive end, real athletic linebacker. I think we those are type of players that we'll continue to search and prod for across the country over the coming months. If we can add any of those to this roster, we think we can really make it even better. Always would be looking for a playmaker at wide receiver, or a great young quarterback. I mean, those are all things we'll always be looking for. So really happy with this group. And like Chad said, it's mostly high school players and 1 junior college player, but really good quality kids.
And we'll open it up to questions for Coach. And we also have Lucas, our Director of Player Personnel, on here as well, who would be available to answer any questions you may have.
Hey, Coach, looking at something like this, you said there's a lot of unknowns. I can only assume there's a lot of unknowns anytime you have a recruiting class. But with this one specifically, if you could just give like a broad generalization of what you were looking at out of these guys, and then a follow-up on Drew having a legacy like that coming to Nevada.
Yeah, no, we tried to, and I'm going to let Lucas visit about it as well, but I think we had to do things completely different this year. And I think one of the biggest things you saw around the country is that there are a lot of coaches that were kind of stuck in their ways and they weren't willing to try new things or do something differently, and they really struggled. Um, I just think the open-mindedness we had and our ability to try things differently really benefited us. And so we did a ton of things on Zoom. I'm going to let Lucas kind of visit about some of the things we did in recruiting that were way creative and way different. Um, but we try to get as much information about the character of the player as possible, and that's difficult. You had to do a lot of things on the phone, um, and it's not ideal, to be honest. It's just not. It's better to be, with your feet on the ground, to be in a school, to be able to talk to the teachers, be able to talk to the counselors, to be able to talk to the trainers. I used to go to a high school and spend as much time as I could. I talked to everybody. I talked to the janitor. What kind of kid is this guy? You try to find out what the kid is like, if he treats people well, and what his personality is. So it was difficult to do that this year. You really had to lean on people you knew. You had to lean on high school coaches that you knew, and that you were getting really proper information about a kid. Um, a lot of these kids didn't have a senior season, so you really had to rely on junior film, and that wasn't, so that's why I think there's probably a lot of sleepers that are still out there that didn't get a chance to play this fall, and it's going to be difficult to kind of identify those guys at this point unless they get a chance to play in the spring. Um, Having Drew here is awesome. We've been following Drew the last few years since we've been here. He's been in our quarterback camps. We've had a chance to work with him. But the thing that I love about him is his character. Um, he will do whatever the program needs to be successful. He's very athletic for a quarterback. He can run, and he's got a very good arm, and he's intelligent. And I've said it before: the three qualities we look for most in a quarterback are intelligence, is accuracy, and competitiveness. And Drew has all three. And so I just think he's a perfect guy to come in our program and learn our passing game. He's a local kid, so he can get over here and watch us practice and get a head start. Um, and really, the guy that really is successful as our quarterback is a guy that wants to learn, that works at it. And I have no doubt that Drew will be successful in our program. I don't know. Lucas might want to visit about how we did some things differently in recruiting this year.
Yeah, like everybody in the country, we had to adjust with Zoom. So the first thing we did was figure out how to work it, and then from there, we we took video of the school, we took video of the apartments that our students live in, and we created self-guided tours. So Colton and the rest of my recruiting staff, they would drive them, and then I would narrate, or Coach Norvell would narrate, and we would just go through everything that they would normally go through on a visit. We tried to tier it out so that we could continue to get engagement with our kids, and so every visit was something different, and that goes into coach what coach was talking about. The more you know the kid, the more you can kind of gauge your virtual visit, so to speak. And I guess it's a plus in a sense that um, typically a kid can visit you one time, two times, if you're lucky. A guy like Drew can visit a lot of times, but with a virtual visit, we can bring a ton of content to them, and they can have multiple visits. So that was a major positive. I thought our coaches interacted with them a lot. And then another major positive that came out of this is you get to include more people in the kid visit. An uncle that might not have shown up before, a grandma, a coach. So that was positive. We just utilized our resources here and the campus maps and things of that nature. So we got to show off our facilities with Zoom.
One of the neat things we did, I thought was really unique, was a virtual visit on a weekend. And so why don't you tell them about that, Lucas?
Yeah, so we would just guide them through what a normal official visit weekend would be. We'd show them Lake Tahoe, videos of Tahoe. We would normally take a kid to Tahoe, and that's usually the first thing they see. So that's a huge plus. Obviously, it's one of the most beautiful places in the world. And a lot of people, I think, when they come to Reno, they have certain expectations of it, and when they see it for the first time, it really provides a wow factor. So we wanted to sell that, and that's something we're able to accomplish. And then we would walk them through our academic presentation. We would walk them through a campus tour. We would walk them through an apartment tour. We would have position meetings with the coaches where they, watch film with the kid. So we utilize all of those resources. We try to show them what a game day visit was like. So we provide highlights for the kids so they could see it. We'd walk them through their majors. And then we'd walk them through Nevada history. Obviously there's a great history here, 120 years of playing. So we would walk them through all of those things, our notable alumni. We would try to see exactly what they would have done on a normal visit and replicate it as much as we could.
Coach, how many of these guys actually took an official visit? Did any of them, or would none of the
No,
19?
no player in America got a chance to do that this year, Chris, because the spring was when everything went dead and they eliminated all contact because of COVID. And so we've got, this is going to be a whole year that we have not been off campus recruiting, all spring, all fall, and now until April 15th, it's still dead. So it's no school in America got a chance to do an official visit, not one player in this past year. So it's very unusual. But on the other hand, they opened up the contact period as far as your conversation with these guys on the phone and Zoom. So in some ways, we had way more communication with them because we were able to call them all summer. We were able to do Zoom visits with them all summer long, and it was really unlimited. And so, I mean, we put together a presentation for a campus tour, showing them the state of Nevada, life after football, what we do to help players for their careers after college, an academic presentation, a facilities presentation, a position specific presentation. So we were able to do probably a lot more this year with them than we would in a normal year. We could have the equivalent of unlimited home visits because we're sitting here like we are now. I'm in my office. Lucas is in his office. We could have 4 or 5 coaches on here, and we could also be talking to the parents, the aunt and uncle, the kid in their living rooms. So it's like a home visit. And so I really got a chance to give my presentation more times this year than ever because of the unlimited nature of the phone conversations. So in some ways, we got a chance to have more visits with the kids and get to know them better. And the simple face-to-face, being able to look at somebody on a Zoom monitor, it's much better than a phone conversation when you're trying to get to know somebody.
You look at the guys you signed, and 9 of the 19 are offensive or defensive linemen. Was that a point of emphasis entering this period, was to beef up the trenches a little more?
Yes. And I mean, there's just no shortcut to being good up front. I mean, there just isn't. And you got to have good big people. And you always have to replenish those big people because they have to be developed. And so that's really a major emphasis. I think the kids that we're recruiting in the last couple of years are more ready to play, probably than the kids that we did our first couple of years. I mean, you look at a guy like Jacob Gardner that came in for us last year and just, went into the starting lineup. I mean, these kids are getting bigger in high school and they're more developed, and the strength training is better, and they're just more ready to play. Now, I mean, Jacob Gardner is an outlier. I mean, there's not many freshmen that can come in and start, but more of the players are more developed than normal, and we're excited about the group of D linemen and the group of O linemen that we have in this class. I think it's so important that you don't get thin in those areas as you're building a program. And so really excited about the kids we got.
Coach, you've touched on this in previous conversations, but looking at it, 18 of the 19 are high school recruits. And I think that goes along with something you said in the past, that you want to have a relationship with these kids, not a quick fix. I mean, you almost went 19 for 19. I'm assuming that was totally on purpose.
Yeah. We just, it's just when you have a kid that comes in as a freshman, you really can raise them. I mean, and I say raise them in the culture, raise them in the techniques that we want to teach. You don't have to break bad habits. Now that there are some very good transfer players, like very good guys that come from junior college or come from other schools. But I think we really want to know those guys. When we do take a guy like that, we want to have a previous history with them. We want to have recruited them in high school or know their coaches or know people that know them very well. I just think there's a lot of mistakes and problems with transfer players, and obviously it can work. But at the same time, I just think your success rate and the long-term success rate is best with high school kids that you can develop. They come from good programs. They understand how to work. And then we get to teach them the way that we want them to play. And I think that gives your program a foundation that just won't change. I mean, you should never really be an up and down program. You should develop good fundamentals and good personnel and play at a high level consistently. And that's our goal.
Almost all of your career before you got to Nevada was at the Power 5 level. And obviously you're not grabbing 4- and 5-star kids at Nevada as you would at Oklahoma. It's a developmental program if you're a Mountain West school. What are you looking for in recruits to where you can project forward and say, okay, they're going to be playing like 4- and 5-star kids once we get a couple of years of developing them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really grew up in developmental programs. When I played at Iowa, we were not an upper level Big Ten team. And matter of fact, it was a lower level Big Ten team when I first went there, and then it's grown ever since. But we really built the program on overachievers, on guys that worked hard, that had a great attitude, and that were tough. And I mean, that's really the blueprint that I brought here to Nevada. I mean, we want overachievers. We want kids with grit, with a determined makeup, and kids that are tough, that love to play. And so that's something that we really look for in players. And that old saying, if they don't bite when they're pups, they probably aren't going to bite when they're older. That's really true with football players. I mean, the best indicator of how a guy's going to be in the future is how he was in high school. If he was a really productive player, he's probably going to be a really productive player in college. And so we look for versatile players. I think versatility is something in skill players that I really think benefits players at the college level. If a guy plays offense, defense, is a return man, that's like Romeo Doubs did everything. He did everything. Some Pac-12 schools didn't like him because he was a wing T quarterback. Well, we saw that he could be a great receiver, and you have to be willing to project kids. Cole Turner, some people didn't think he had the speed as a receiver, but we just saw just incredibly gifted, big athlete, and we knew that he would play somewhere for us. And so you kind of have to look past that. And, one of the great football people in the history of the sport is Bill Belichick. And one of the things that he says that a lot of people can learn from is that you don't look at what a player can't do. You look at what a player can do. And I think that's a great lesson for people in recruiting, is that what can this guy do and how can you use him? And then it's the coach's job to put him in a position where he can be successful. And so I think a lot of people miss out on that. You're not going to get finished products, especially, when you're at a group of 5 school. A lot of these kids are not developed yet, and they have to have the makeup, though. They have to have the competitiveness, the work ethic, the character that will allow them to develop, and the athletic ability and the frame. And so, those are all things we look for. But you're right. When I was at Iowa, when I was at Wisconsin, I mean, those were developmental programs where you had to get kids and you had to develop them. They had to be in your program. They had to work hard. They had to develop a competitive callus. And then their junior year, they were really good players. And that's kind of what we've done here. The biggest thing I didn't want to do is I didn't want to get, you could get a transfer to, I didn't want to get a bunch of transfers, because many times when they leave, there's nothing left. And so I didn't want that. I wanted to build a foundation where kids learned how to play, and we continue to get better, and then we stay at a very productive level, high level, and we compete every year. And I think that in the long run, that's the best way to go.
I know you touched on Drew, but how unique was it just recruiting the grandson of, I guess, a mentor, and any challenges and kind of navigating those waters and making Drew feel like we're recruiting you because we believe in you, not because of where your bloodlines lie?
Yeah, no, I've got a great relationship with Drew, and that's always something that, you're sensitive to. We love Drew, and I love his makeup. He's an incredible student. He's dang near a straight A student. Very intelligent, great work ethic. And he works all the time. He's very serious about being a good quarterback, and he's athletic. He can run. I'll never forget the first time I saw him play in person, standing on a sideline at Madigal, and he ran a zone read, and the official thought he gave it to the running back, and they tackled the running back, and he called it dead. And Drew was running 70 yards down the field. He scores a touchdown, and they blow the play dead. And but he can run, and he's athletic, and he's really smart. So I really love his qualities as a quarterback. He loves Nevada. That's important to us. And I think he'll be a really good player here. I really do. And his granddad watches practice twice a week on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and counsels the head coach. So that's always a good thing too. But no, he stands on his own merit all the way. And he's a great player from the state of Nevada. And I think he's going to have a great career here.
You mentioned kind of the pros and cons of this year's recruiting cycle and how it was different. How would you describe your comfortability that you got all the right players, just given how unusual it's been this year, maybe compared to previous classes?
Well, I think it's as good as it can be in this. There's definitely some things that you would prefer to be able to see in person. There's a lot of things you can't see from film. One of the things I love going to games, because I always go to the game early. And when I go to the game early, I watch warmups. When I watch warmups, I talk to the coaches, and you always get information, and that information is helpful for you making a decision. The other thing is, what you can't see on game film is how a player interacts with his teammates, what he does when he comes to the sidelines, what happens after he takes a big shot, how does he respond? Those things are really important. If the coach gets on him, how does he react to that? Those are all really important things that you don't get from game film. But one of the things that I did like about this recruiting cycle is that we talked to the players more than any year I've ever had. And it was because it was unlimited contact as far as phone conversation. So, I mean, we talked to these guys. I know, you know, the couple months when we were home, we had a full schedule. We did football in the morning when we were at our houses and we were sitting at the computer. You know, the offensive, defensive staff watch football in the morning, and then after lunch, we did Zoom meetings all afternoon. You know, the whole month of April and May and June, and so visiting with them in their houses and getting to know them. And so in many ways, we got to know them much better than a normal recruiting year. So that gives me a comfort level that we have the right guys.
Anything else for Coach at this time, or for Lucas?
Maybe just one more. You know, you guys obviously broke onto the national radar a little bit more this year. You guys were, you know, almost in the top 25. Did that change the caliber of player who was interested in you guys? Do you feel like that opened up some doors? Just
Yeah.
as have been able to do the last couple of years?
Yeah, and I think it validated, you know, so much of our recruiting was done before the season. And, but I think it validated what people thought of us and what we were capable of doing. You know, I really felt like we were going to have to grow a quarterback here and have a guy come through our program and play at a high level. And I think it will open some doors for us there in recruiting. I think, you know, now that Carson is the offensive player of the year as a sophomore, I think from here on out, I think we're going to get a lot of attention from really good quarterbacks all over the country. And so, but I just felt like we were probably going to have to grow one in our program before we really got that validation from kids. And so, no, people are are looking at us. You know, obviously receivers love what we do. Our quarterbacks love what we do. You know, we want to continue to take that next step of that upper echelon defensive player and getting them in our program.